And welcome back. Now time to play a little game here. What if Austin Petersen were the U.S. Senator from Missouri? Well, lots of different questions to ask him under those circumstances for sure. And really glad to have Austin Petersen with us right now from, where are you, Austin? Kansas City?
Kansas City.
Kansas City. All right. Beautiful Kansas City. All right. First things first, though, before we get to tax reform, you were mentioning something just as we were chatting off the air regarding what kind of race this is. And it indeed is something that you've broached on Twitter and beyond, and some of your speeches and beyond. This Mitch McConnell swamp thing is something you're very concerned about, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the NRSC and Mitch McConnell are pouring hundreds of thousands of dollars into my Republican primary opponents' campaigns right now in a sort of a desperate struggle to ensure that they take out Claire McCaskill. Listen, I can understand. I mean, she is the swamp for sure. But, of course, the difference between myself and my competition is that a very, very, very small group of people are donating. As a matter of fact, Mr. Hawley, his individual contributions are $2,000 a person. Mine is $50 a person. I've got 5 times as many donors, and I've got 10 times as many donations. So there's a tiny group of people who have an interest in seeing the Attorney General become the next senator, but there is a large grassroots movement of people supporting me whose only special interest is liberty. And frankly, I'm running because I believe I would be the best representative of the citizens of Missouri, not our elites. And certainly not the swamp.
Well, already we're seeing Senator Claire McCaskill, who obviously is dead serious about retaining her seat. We're seeing her already kind of doing what she normally does around re-election time, and that is, hey, look at me, I'm a moderate, I'm a centrist. There's a chance she might even vote for tax reform, those kinds of things. So that makes this issue very formidable, because when it comes to people who voted for President Trump, they voted for somebody really off the grid. They voted for people, a guy who essentially is speaking a different language than even the Republican Party as a party was speaking.
Claire McCaskill is no moderate. She becomes a moderate once every 6 years when she needs to be reelected. But let's look at the facts. Would a moderate have voted for the Obama's assault weapons ban? I mean, even Democrats in the state of Missouri believe in the Second Amendment, and she voted against that. Are moderates heavily supported by Planned Parenthood nationally? Absolutely not. Are moderates the kind of people who would ram through Obamacare, which has caused harm to millions of people, including myself? Absolutely not. And so Claire McCaskill right now is playing the game. She's playing politics. And the proxy war that's going on between the Republican and Democratic establishments right now, I think, is laid bare in the candidacies of Hawley versus McCaskill. You know, FoxNews.com reported on this race last week on 3 people. They said Claire McCaskill with $10 million in the bank, Hawley with $800,000, and the danger, Austin Petersen, with a grassroots army and $250,000 in his bank. And here's the thing. Of course I'm dangerous. I'm dangerous to the establishment. They're certainly not putting money into my bank account because they know that they cannot control me. Claire McCaskill is someone who is trying to pretend like she's a moderate, but you know what? She's going to do Chuck Schumer's bidding. Josh Hawley wants to try and pretend like he's a man of the people, and yet the people who are supporting are a tiny group of elites, people like Danforth, people like McConnell, people who don't, I believe, have Missouri's best interest at heart.
Austin Petersen, how would you vote? Well, I mean, you don't really have anything in front of you at this point, and no one really does. We don't know exactly what all the details of tax reform will be, but what do you think so far about the tax reform agenda?
So far, the broad outline that we've seen actually looks very good, very similar to something that I've been proposing for a long time. Looks like they're going to cut corporate income tax rates to around, I think, 20%, they said, down from 35%, the highest in the developed world. They're also talking about lowering personal income tax rates to, I believe they said 25%. I like this. The big problem, of course, is that they can't seem to get their spending in line. That's the big problem. Of course, they had to ram a budget through the House of Representatives in order to get to tax reform. I mean, I want fundamental tax reform. Don't get me wrong. But what we should not be doing is spending away our children and our grandchildren's livelihoods by adding $5 trillion to the deficit. We have got to get our spending under control.
You know, one of the things that near and dear to my heart is the possibility of eliminating the deduction for state and local taxes. And there's a method to this madness. I'm not quite sure it would have much of an effect on Missourians, even though obviously our taxes are too high. But for the other states out there, in fact, I think there were 7 states that are big time Hillary Clinton states and Democrat states where their taxes are just through the roof. And maybe it's about time to go ahead, eliminate that deduction, and start to get a groundswell of Americans in their individual states pushing on their states to reduce their taxes.
Yeah, I completely agree. I understand. I think my problem, of course, is that I think that we are going to miss the boat on fundamental tax reform. That's really what we want. I mean, President Trump even came to Springfield, Missouri, and he admitted that many of these deductions are really just benefits to the elites, to the wealthy. And frankly, the middle class needs a tax break. They were trying to institute a new millionaires tax on the top bracket. I think that was another mistake. Everybody deserves a tax cut, Jamie. Every single person in America deserves a tax cut. That's why I think that President Trump, when he came to Springfield and he said, let's get rid of all the deductions, let's have something like a flat tax would be good. Unfortunately, it seems like we're not able to get the kind of fundamental tax reform the American people deserve. But I will still champion that. When I go to Washington, D.C. after next year's election, I'll champion what's right. And we can talk about, tinkering here, tinkering there. But frankly, fundamental tax reform, especially with a Republican-controlled Senate and a Republican-controlled House, should not be a problem. Again, a lot of times with these deductions it's just a giveaway to the rich, and that's the problem.
Right. Austin Petersen, always good to talk to you. Thanks for being available to us at a moment's notice, as always. And we appreciate you being on the show and being available. Let's put it that way. We'll leave it at that, right?